Okay, so I think that's 2 weeks in a row that we're doing this, so we're just going to restart. Hello everybody. Yeah, Austin, sorry. Not being in my studio completely messes up my vibe here. I don't have anything automated and all that, but we are continuing what has turned into a series, which is streaming from the sofa because Murphy is still recovering. So for those of you who are not familiar, let me do this again. Um, this is Mr. Murphy and his $6,000 cone. That's not really what the $6,000 was, but hey, Murphy, say hi. Okay, we're on it, people. That's good. So this is Doggo recovering. Um, I'll spare you the details of that. Um, dark blanket, Doggo. I know it's a little hard to tell. But I do apologize. So this is going to be a little wonky because I need to be right here with him, which I can't do when I'm in the studio. Yes, sweetheart. I know. I know. It's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. Okay. So we're going to talk about what we talk about here, which is technology in our daily lives. And what we are doing is revisiting a topic that we did last year. I'm just keeping an eye on him because it looks like he's going to try to go for the stitches, but you're not going to go for the stitches, right? You're going to be a good boy. Yes. I know. I know, sweetheart. It's almost time for your medicine. Okay, anyway, sorry. High level of distraction. But we are revisiting a topic that we talked about a year ago because it is the nature of technology. Oh, you're just being all kinds of funny. That things change over time, right? For good and bad. And no, Gamer Paradise, this is not you. It's just, again, we're not in my studio, so I don't have all the things set up the way that they normally would be. Which is okay. We can persevere through this. So a year ago, we talked about Windows 11 because it had started to hit the mainstream. It was available to people and all that kind of stuff. And I started getting a lot of questions: should I upgrade? Should I not? Blah blah blah. And here we are a year later, and out of the blue, I'm getting these questions again. So it's a good time to revisit this because things do change over time, and it's important that we have these conversations so that you can then make the best decision for you because that's what this comes down to. There is no hard and fast rule that you should or shouldn't do something. Um, for the most part. But what I want to do is give you the information so that you can evaluate the situation for yourself. And the reason I smiled when I said that is because there are times when we have no choice. And so, just as an aside, and as a parallel example, on February 14th, which cracked me up, it being Valentine's Day in the US, um, Internet Explorer went away forever. And as a software designer, I wanted to throw a little party, but Murphy, because Internet Explorer has been the bane of my existence since they released it. So I am very happy to see it go. Not that I love Edge, but it is slightly less annoying than Internet Explorer ever was. So in that case, you didn't have a choice, right? Because it is gone. Um, Same thing with which we covered a couple of weeks ago, where Google Chrome is depreciated for older versions of Windows. Same thing, right? That's not a choice that we make, right? That's a reality we have to deal with, but there are some choices around it. So that's what we're talking about as far as Windows 10, should we stay there, or Windows 11. And the reason I'm phrasing it that way is because if you are on a version of Windows older than 10, then yes, you need to seriously consider whether or not you can upgrade to Windows 10 or 11, whichever. You do want to stay on a more recent version of Windows because over time they stop supporting the older versions. And what that means, and the critical part of what that means, is two-part. One is no more new features, which may or may not be important to you. The thing that is important is that they stop doing security updates, and that leaves you vulnerable. And I don't want any of my people out there to be vulnerable to all the nasty stuff that does happen out on the internet. So let's go through the quick checklist that I've been going through with the people who've been reaching out to me over the past month or so about this. Oh boy. So that you've got this information too, because for those of you who don't know, my name is Kathleen and I'm here as your tech coach. And the reason I do this show is because I know not everybody has a techie that they can reach out to. And technology is my day gig and it's my hobby. So I live inside that world, and normal people don't have the time or bandwidth for that. So I am more than happy to share the information I get, and that's why I started doing this show. So welcome. All right. So the very first thing to factor in when you're trying to make this decision is the date, because at some point, and I do have that date for you. Now, this date may change, but as of right now, when I'm recording this, which is February 2023, it's okay. Can't give you the medication yet. He's having a rough one today. Um, so the sooner or later, Windows 10 will be depreciated, just like I was mentioning with the older versions. At some point, they're going to stop support for it. It will be a gradual process. They'll stop doing updates, and they'll stop doing like new feature updates, and then they'll stop doing security updates. Right now, that date is set to be October 14th, 2025. So, like I said, I'm doing this in 2023, so you've got some time. And that may be all the information you need, in which case, TLDR and go about your life. Um, if you are still curious about it, if you're thinking that maybe you would like to go ahead and do that update, the other really big part of the puzzle is your system, right? Because not all systems, including the one that I'm actually streaming from tonight, can support Windows 11. And there's a checklist, and there's all kinds of details, and of course the links are in the description as always. But let me just show you real quick one. So if you go to, again, this link is in the description, and you scroll down on this particular page, it gives you all kinds of information. Obviously, selling hard, why you should go ahead and use Windows 11. But if you keep scrolling, and I know I'm going fast, but that's because it's way down the bottom now. It used to be at the top. This is a tool, free tool that you can use that you get from Microsoft that will check your system to see whether or not you can run Windows 11 on your machine. And if you're kind of on the border, which some systems are, it will make recommendations for how you might be able to bump it up so that it will run on that particular machine. That said, there are machines that it just won't run on, which again, that will make the decision for you, right? But that then is telling you that you have about 2 years to start saving up to either improve the system that you have, which is easier on a desktop than a laptop, or purchase a new machine, because sooner or later Windows 10 will start to go away. So those are the two big ones. If you are not interested in anything else, those are the things to consider and check out. And like I said, all those links are in the description. If you're curious, just in general, to learn more about Windows 11 and decide whether or not you care, there is again another website, and again the link is in the description. But this gets you into learning more about it. Obviously, it helps you buy a machine that it'll run on. But this gets into the system requirements. Now, you may or may not be comfortable. There's a certain level of geek involved there. But it also talks about the features that are in it. This one, I have to admit, is the one I'm having a lot of fun with right now, and that you can now run Android apps on Windows machines. More fun than you might think. But I won't read all of this. We kind of covered some of this last year. Obviously, this list is the same. If you are an Xbox person, there is definitely something to consider here. But this is the other thing to be aware of, because with everything you get, you do tend to lose things. And so there is a nice list here of the things that go away. How much any of this impacts you, or whether you would notice it if you didn't check this list, probably, is going to vary. This is probably the section that's going to stand out to most people, because they did change how the whole start menu works. There are things I like and don't like about that. Again, it's a personal preference kind of thing. But just so you know, and I'm just zipping through this, but you can go ahead and check the links in the description, and you can go and check all that out for yourself. If you go through this, right, you're like, okay, yes, I do want Windows 11. I'm interested in the features. I don't care about what's gone away, or I have workarounds for it, and your system can handle it. The next thing you want to check is the apps that you rely on, the software packages that you use, are they Windows 11 compatible? And this is why when things first come out, I tend to tell a lot of people in my world to hold off a little bit, because most of them don't want to have to deal with that early adapter kind of problem. And it takes a little while for our software packages to get up to speed. The bigger companies, obviously, they have partnerships with Microsoft, and so they get early additions, but some of the smaller software packages don't. So they have to wait until it gets released in order to see what changes they need to make. So you do want to check to see if any of the important apps you're using will run on Windows 11. Now, a lot of people that I talk to about this, they're like, well, of course it's going to. And that's not the case. So a lot of specialty software, I'm talking things like POS, point of sale systems, a lot of device-specific applications, particularly in healthcare, in case that is something that you're in. those applications tend to not get they tend to be expensive and they tend to not get those upgrades as quickly. So that's why it's really important that you make sure that anything that you absolutely rely on for your business is still going to function before you make this move, because finding out afterwards is no fun. Trust me, I have been down that road with people. It's not a great journey. So go ahead and double check that. It's not always going to be clear. Ideally, you'll be able to go to a website and you'll be able to check things out, and see, on the list whether or not it is or it isn't. Some of them don't say anything, so you're going to want to reach out to those companies and check, email their support teams, that kind of stuff. Do some searching online. Um, you're going to run into a gray area where some companies are going to say that it's not, and the phrasing on it is, it changes, but basically they're going to say something along the lines of, we have not certified that this works on Windows 11. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means that for whatever reason, their legal team or their marketing team is not in a position to say, yes, we verified it on all the different machines, and that Windows 11 is going to work fine for you. So just keep that in mind. That's a really important thing if it's something that you rely on. The good news is, for a lot of us now, the tools that we're using are actually browser-based, cloud-based, and in those cases, you're generally fine. So you don't really have to worry about it. Yeah, not officially supported. That's another phrase that you see a lot. Thank you, Austin. I wish I could bring up comments, but I can't in this setup. But yes, that is absolutely another one. So just keep that in mind. But like I said, if you're using tools like, Canva, Google Docs, Microsoft 365, these are all web-based things. And so you're going to be fine, because as long as you're using a fairly recent browser, you're good to go. So just be aware of that. The ones to really worry about are the ones that say do not install, right? Generally the ones that absolutely can't work with it will say that right up front. And that is, those are the ones that could be a problem. So for example, like I do a lot of my day gig work is healthcare or healthcare adjacent, as I like to say. And it's a little horrifying. I'm not trying to panic anybody, but every time, we were working with a client, or even myself, like if I go into, a doctor's office or whatever, when I see that they're running like version 8 of Windows, because that's what their, billing system or their recording system, there's a word for it, it's late, won't support newer versions, like that always kind of freaks me out a little bit. I do know for a lot of equipment, that is the way it is. The thing is, when it comes to those kinds of things, whether it's an office tool kind of thing, or if it's equipment that's being run on it, a lot of times what people will do is they'll do what we call air gapping, which is a whole other conversation. But basically, just because I don't want people to freak out, what that means is when environments know that they're using software that's not being software like security updated, like Windows 8 for an example, 8, 8.1, that kind of thing. What they'll do is they'll just make sure that that particular system is not on the internet, right? It's not connected to anything on the outside. It is strictly inside their environment, which of course helps keep it safer. So they're not using any kind of internet connection. They're not using any Wi-Fi on it. Like, they've got it locked down to just run the tool the way it needs to be run, to keep things safe. So not generating panic here, just pointing out that there are situations that are very specific where this may not be an option for you. So if you've done all this stuff, right, you've checked, okay, yes, you want to do it. Yes, your system is able to handle it. Yes, your applications are all good to go and will work just fine. Then you might as well go ahead and do it, because at this point, Windows 11 is rock solid. I'm using it on some other machines right now. I've actually been using it since it was a beta, and it's fine. Yes, the start menu is moved, and there's some little quirky things, but it's not a super drastic change. So for most of us out there, this is going to be a totally fine thing to upgrade. The only other thing I want to recommend to you, very, very strongly, which you should be doing on a regular basis anyway, is before you do the upgrade, do a backup. I'm going to say that again. Before you do the upgrade, do a backup. Do a couple of backups, because things happen. And again, realizing you don't have stuff backed up after the thing has gone bad is not the time to find that out. So do your backups, test your backups, then go through the process and go ahead and do your upgrade, because there's no reason not to now, assuming all the other things have checked off the list. Alrighty, let's see. So if you are going to go and do the upgrade, then the next thing that is the question that comes up is, how do you do that? For most people, moving from Windows 10 to Windows 11, and in many cases from Windows 8 to Windows 11, is still a free upgrade. Most people, so be aware of that. There may be situations where you will actually have to pay for the upgrade if you want to do it on an existing machine. The way to find that out is to go into your machine, I'm going to walk you through this step by step here. So you're gonna need to check your settings. So you're gonna go into, on whichever version of Windows you are, you're gonna go in to settings, and you're gonna search for updates in the little text box. And generally, it's gonna have a little block either on the top or off to the right that tells you whether or not you are eligible for the free upgrade. If so, you can just, after you do your backup, go ahead and just click on a button and it will start to do the upgrade for you. If you want to get to Windows 11 and your machine is not up to date, sometimes you can do it if you like upgrade memory or whatever. That's what that checker that I showed you is useful for. If that doesn't work, then I'm afraid the only other option really is to get a new machine. The bonus there is, once you've saved up for the new machine, is you can get it pre-installed, so you don't have to go through the hassle of installing it. It'll just come with Windows 11 and you'll be good to go. If you're still not sure where you fall on the spectrum for this, there's one more link in the description that I just want to show you real quick. And this is a nice comparison from Microsoft about what you get from Windows 10 and what you get from Windows 11. It also gives you a comparison of Windows 11 Pro versus Windows 11 Home. I generally tell people to go ahead and get Pro if they can, but again, your mileage may vary, so you can go ahead and double check this. I just want to point out that while this is a list of what you get Windows 10 versus Windows 11, obviously Microsoft is trying to get everybody to update. So you'll notice the whole top of this is stuff that you don't get in Windows 10. That's what all the blanks are, and then it gets into things that are the same. So just be aware that this was designed to encourage people to upgrade, because that is where they're going, and that's their direction going forward. But just go ahead and go through the whole list before you make the decision if you're still on the fence, because it may not be something that you need to worry about right now. Like I said, you're good until 2025, and they'll probably extend that a few months. They tend to do that as far as feature updates and security updates. So this is not a big forest fire kind of thing. This is just something to consider. Take a look at what your needs are, what your system can handle, whether or not your applications will work, and if all things being equal, if everything says yes, you can go ahead and do it. Then after you do your backup, I will keep saying it over and over again. After you do your backup, then go ahead and do the upgrade, because there's a lot of benefits to having Windows 11, and just staying on the most current version means you're always going to be getting the feature updates and the security updates for longer. Again, at some point they will depreciate it, but that date I don't even think has been published yet, because this is so new. All right, let me just double check here. I think, other than reminding you to make a backup first, that is everything I wanted to cover for you. So, as always, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you need some help figuring this out, you can reach out. Oh, hey, that was well timed. youratechcoach.com. There's a contact form there. If it's a quick question, I'm happy to just respond. Just make sure you give me your email address so I can answer. If you need more help, you can go ahead and schedule a consult in the same place. I just went away, but it'll come back. And I'm happy to help out. Or if you have ideas for a show, if you have some topic you want me to cover, feel free to go ahead and pop those there, because frankly, the best content for this channel comes from the questions that you folks ask, or the people in my real life ask, which is what brought this up. Austin says, you've been on Windows 11 Pro for about a year now, on a 3-year-old laptop upgraded from Windows 10. It's just as stable as Windows 10, if not more so. Absolutely. That's why I have no hesitation in suggesting people do it. I never want to tell people you have to do it until you have to. But we're not at that point yet. But yeah, absolutely. I have complete confidence in recommending that anybody upgrade, as long as their system can handle it and their applications are up to date, because I've been using it about as long as you. And not any problems at all. You know, you say that and then the machine will crash later. But no, it's been fine. It's been stable. It is, I think personally, it's a little perkier. It's a little faster to boot. It seems to be handling, you know, I run a lot of very powerful software tools between the video stuff and the graphic stuff and the software design stuff. I really beat on my machines, and it does just keep chugging along. So I have no qualms at all about recommending people go ahead and do that. So I'm glad you're having the same experience, Austin. All right, everybody. I hope that this is helpful for you. Feel free to reach out. If you ever want to join and hang out live, I do this show Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You're always welcome to come hang out live in the chat so we can talk. But if you can't, that's totally fine too. You can go ahead and put your questions, your comments into the comments, and I do come back and check those and respond as soon as I can. Just remember, one of me, many of you, so it does take a little time sometimes. All right, everybody. I'm going to feed Murphy so that I can get some medication in him so he feels better. Don't know where I'll be streaming from next week. It may still be here. It may be back in the studio. But either way, I do hope that you'll be able to come and hang out, and I hope you'll have a great weekend. Take it easy, everybody. Bye. Yeah, I don't even have like fun stuff. I'm just going to have to shut this down. So long.